of the Soviet Union, Francis Fukuyama published a book called The End of History and the Last Man, where he proposed that humanity had reached the final form of government and that ideological conflicts that drove human history forward had ended. Although somewhat hyperbolic, his claims are not entirely wrong. The West emerged as the dominant bloc, with its structures becoming the standard for the rest of the world. Liberal democracy, free markets, and globalization were no longer just alternatives. They became the only acceptable path to progress and happiness. These structures are not inherently evil, far from that. However, in combination with local structures, it contributes to the establishment of a framework that promotes inequality and other social problems at a global level. Around the world, there are many activists that try to denounce this problematic and propose solutions. One of them is Vandana Shiva. She is an Indian environmental activist and author. In her work, she reflects on the concept of GDP, gross domestic product, as the measurement of a nation's success. According to her, GDP is a flawed concept and a dangerous one to follow. The roots of these flaws can be traced to its origin. GDP was a tool developed during World War II, where many nations had to raise the industrial and agricultural output not only to provide for the local demand, but to be able to equip and feed massive armies. This permanent war economy, as said by US President Eisenhower, was not only applied in the United States, but in the West, especially in its client states. This notion that one has to produce more than needed to live and then sell it to a profit is at the heart of capitalism. However, this GDP formula does not recognize what is lost in the process. GDP does not concern itself with the damage to the environment and the subsequent damage to the most vulnerable communities. Using GDP as the only indicator of success or failure has contributed to create a situation of economic competitiveness at all costs. If you add local patriarchy to the mix, you get some of the problems denounced by Cheryl Wadun, Isabel Allende, and Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. In a world where GDP has reduced the value of human beings to their ability to produce monetary wealth, it is natural to want a competitive edge. In patriarchal societies, that edge is being male. In this context, it is only natural for a family with limited resources not to only invest in the male progeny, as they are the only ones that matters. However, Badun Allende and Ngozi Adichie, through their feminist platform, are trying to subvert this order of structural violence, working within the capitalist system itself. For example, according to Wadun, the main cause of the many social problems, such as poverty, have their roots on gender inequality. This is particularly patent in third world countries where women, in many cases, don't have their basic human rights. She uses the example of a girl in China that managed to get her education, in part with the help of Western donors, and then her economic success had a profound impact in her community, especially on other girls, who through education managed to improve their lives and the people around them. This process made her community more competitive in GDP terms, but also in human terms. To see the world in human and humane terms, and not just economic terms, is the proposal by Allende and Ngozi Adichie. They claim that through feminism we can achieve a better world, a world more just, not just for women but also for men. Both are victims of a structural cycle of violence that is the result of many factors, among which is this GDP ideology enforced by the West. And to accomplish this task, we have to be men and women of passion.